wanting to know how to get revenge on someone who spread rumors about you? Listen to this story and it may come in handy. So I had a friend that we can call Miranda who was obsessed with me. I was genuinely friends with her, but she would never give me a break. I could not get a breather from her at any point in time. Everywhere I went, she went. And this girl would actually get so upset with me anytime I would go over to another friend's house. I knew she was really insecure and just trying to get attention, so I tried to be patient with her. However, one day I just could not take it anymore. I got into a massive fight with her over how overprotective she is. I literally said, "You are a stage 5 clinger." And in response, this girl ended up joining my basketball and softball team, which I've been on for forever. She told her mom that I was bullying her, which was a complete lie, but then her mom went to the coaches. She got me kicked off the team and then continued to spread rumors about me. I ended up losing my best friends and even my boyfriend over the rumors that she spread about me. So that's when I decided to get revenge. So I decided that I was going to send her over an apology gift with makeup in it, which was a mix of drugstore items and poison ivy.
I will never, and I mean never, forget the time that we had a male sub in high school and a girl asked to go to the restroom and he said sure. So she grabbed something and he heard a rapper and he was like, "Oh, if you're going to eat candy, you can do it in here, but you have to share with everyone in the class." And she was like, "What?" And he was like, "Well, I heard the rapper." And she whips out a tampon, shoves it in his face, and she goes, "You want to share?" "Oh, girl, savage."
Can you solve this mystery? This is a story about two young girls, Mandy and Melissa, who were identical twins. But one day they were kidnapped by an unknown man. No one knew who the kidnapper was, but something isn't adding up here. All the clues to what really happened are hidden in what I'm about to say. So Mandy and Melissa were born to a very rich family. They lived in a large mansion with their father and older brother. Everyone was jealous of these girls because their father loved them so much and gave them everything that they wanted and all of his attention. But one tragic night, the girls were taken. When they woke up, they were blindfolded and tied to chairs so they couldn't see a thing. They were terrified. Suddenly, Mandy heard a high-pitched voice whispering in her ear. It was the kidnappers. He said, "I've contacted your parents and I'm demanding $1 million ransom. If you try to escape, I will kill Melissa." Then Melissa heard the same voice whisper in her ear. He said, "I contacted your parents and I'm demanding $1 million ransom. If you try to escape, I will kill Mandy." So who kidnapped the twin girls and why did they do it? Can you solve this mystery?
Anyone else hate when people say, "Don't worry, you'll find a guy. There's plenty of fish in the sea"? The sea is full of trash. All the fish are dying. That's why we have global warming. Watch the news. Thank you.
When I was 17, my family actually forgot about my birthday, so when I told my best friend, she felt really bad for me and convinced her family to do something with me. So they took me out to eat at a restaurant where they throw like bread rolls at you, and they told the waitress that it was my birthday. So the waitress asked me to stand up, and I was like, no. But everyone kept staring at me, and my best friend was like, just stand up. So I stood up, and the waitress announced to everyone in the room that it was my birthday, and she asked everyone to sing happy birthday with her, but absolutely nobody sang, so it was quiet. So I slowly sit back down on my chair and I look over to my friend and she's just laughing because this is hilarious to her. And then I look over at the waitress and she looks scared and she starts giving me a bunch of extra bread rolls and she's like, "I am so sorry." Needless to say, it was very awkward and a birthday that I will never forget.
This girl literally lived a nightmare. A 17-year-old girl was watching TV late at night when her motion detector lights in her driveway suddenly went on. She assumed it was just an animal, so she got up, drew the blinds, and went back to watching TV. Then a little bit later, it happened again. Before she could even react, she looks over and clearly makes out a silhouette of a person right behind the blinds who starts banging aggressively on the window. The girl stands up and goes, "I'm gonna call the cops!" And the figure stops for just a second, sprints to the side door and starts pounding even louder on that, screaming incoherently. The girl runs to the bathroom, barricades herself inside while she waits for the police, and then her worst nightmares come true. She hears glass shatter in the other room. After a few minutes of silence, she opens her door just a crack to get a peek outside, and standing in her living room next to a broken window is some crazy old woman who looks over at her and starts sprinting toward her. The lady comes smashing into the door and starts wailing on it until the police arrive and take her away. She was a lunatic who had escaped her facility.
There's this creepy legend about a secret Disney park called Duck Pond. It was supposed to be the most unique of all the Disney parks because it was located underneath a pond. The premise was that it was entirely about Donald Duck. So they had his character walking around everywhere. All the rides and snacks were Donald Duck themed. Well, one day something went very wrong and Disney decided to close the park for good. They also tried to hide it forever so nobody would ever know about its existence. Apparently, children started to go missing, and the rumor was that one of the employees in the Donald Duck costume was stealing them. But because there were so many duck costumes, they had no idea which employee was the culprit. And like I said, because of all these strange things happening there, they had to close down the park. Now, this is supposedly just a rumor, a legend, a creepypasta, if you will, but I'm always so intrigued to hear about secret Disney parks because it is pretty scary.
Around a year ago, my husband anxiously sat me down and told me he had discovered he had a long-lost daughter. According to him, he had an ex he got pregnant as a teenager, but she moved away before she started showing and without telling him. She gave birth and kept his daughter a secret from him. Eventually, she put Kat up for adoption. Kat now tracked him down and wanted to get to know him. As I am unable to conceive on my own, I was very enthusiastic and encouraging of them meeting. I asked him about DNA testing or speaking to the mother or adoptive parents. He told me all of that would come in due time, but based on the details she shared with him, he was 90% sure she was his biological daughter. Their first few visits together were private, but eventually we had a big dinner at my house. My husband has seen Kat numerous times since then, both with and without me present. About a week ago, a young man I've never met before messaged me on Facebook. He was Kat's ex-boyfriend and he wanted me to know that this was the woman my husband had been sleeping with. He must have misunderstood Kat's relationship with my husband. When I asked my husband about it, he started crying. He thought I went through his phone and found the text messages between him and Kat. Messages when she was in character, which is how he segued into telling me that they're in a fake, incestuous daddy-daughter relationship.
Recently, my 54-year-old dad and my 52-year-old mom have divorced. This wasn't a surprise to me though. However, a week after the divorce was finalized, my father got a new girlfriend named Sophia who's 26. I wasn't mad, but I felt like it was a little too soon. At the end of the day though, it's not my business, but I told my dad I couldn't accept her as my new stepmother as it was too soon and she was only 2 years older than me. He said this was okay, but he hopes in the future I can come around to it. Eventually, my 3-year-old twins met my dad's girlfriend and they didn't like her. They were asking me stuff like who is she and other questions. After she noticed my kids' favoritism towards their biological grandmother, she yelled at me and told me I was raising my kids wrong because they don't treat her like that. I calmly told her that they would eventually come around, but she wouldn't listen and kick me out of my dad's house. A few weeks later, my husband and I found out that I was pregnant. We wanted to wait a while to tell my family, and at the next family dinner, I told everyone the news. Everyone was happy for me and my husband, but especially my dad's girlfriend. Keep in mind, she still hadn't apologized for her outburst, and I still felt like I couldn't accept her, so when she started saying things such as, I can't wait for my grandbaby, I felt a little uncomfortable, but assumed she just liked babies. That was until she decided that if it was a girl, then we would call her Elia after her grandmother, or if it was a boy, then Samuel after her granddad. I flat out told her no as I had never met them, and she blew up in anger. She said I never took in consideration her ideas and that she wishes my stupid baby wasn't even born. I stormed out and messaged my dad saying that I decided I wouldn't let her see me, my kids, or my baby until she apologizes. I've gotten many angry texts from her and her friends since then. One of her friends even told me what she told them and it turns out she flipped the whole story around. Am I in the wrong?
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom one time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, excuse me, I don't remember her name. Can I please use the restroom? And she was like, no, you can't because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester. Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, Mom, I'm sitting in class right now. My teacher won't let me use the restroom. And she was like, I'll take care of it for you. And I was like, okay. So like 5 minutes goes by and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing and she walks up to it and answers it and she's like, hello? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then she walks up to me like so angry and she like slams the pass on my desk and she was like, since you have to go that bad. And I was like, yeah, I really do. Thanks. And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just roamed the halls.
So when I was about 5 or 6, I had a best friend named Maggie who lived next door. We would always go outside and play together. One day around dinner time, we saw a little girl around our age staring at us on the side of another nearby house. She was extremely pale and wearing a white dress. We would see her for days on end in the exact same dress. And as soon as we would yell for her to come play with us, she would run around to the front of her house. One day, we finally decided to chase after her. As soon as we rounded the corner to her front yard, she was gone. Like, she had literally disappeared. When we were walking back, we noticed a pile of dirt next to our house. In the dirt was written K-A-R-A with a stick next to it. We just assumed she was shy and wrote her name out for us, Kara. The next day we saw her again and started yelling, Kara, Kara, wait! We ran after her again, rounded the corner, and saw this old couple doing yard work in our front yard. We assumed that they were Kara's parents. So we asked them, hey, where's your daughter Kara? And they were like, that's not funny. And we were like, no, seriously, we've been seeing her every night. We just wanted to know if she wanted to come play with us. The old man looked at us and said, our daughter Kara got hit by a truck and died 30 years ago in front of this house.
To anyone who gets a period, this video is for us. When I was in middle school, I really appreciated this teacher who would let the girls go to the bathroom whenever we wanted. And the guys would complain that they had to wait 20 minutes at least after lunch so that they could use the restroom. And the teacher would always remind them, you guys are boys and these are young ladies and they don't always have to just relieve themselves in the restroom. And I didn't even realize that that was just basic human decency for people who have periods until I got to high school. When I was a junior in high school, I was sitting in class and I felt like I was bleeding. And so I told my teacher that I had to use the restroom. And he told me I couldn't go because it was the first 15 minutes of class. And I told him, it's an emergency. I really have to use the restroom. And he said, you should have thought about that at lunch. And because I'm not going to sit here and bleed through my pants, I was like, I'm menstruating really loud in front of the whole class. And he was shocked and so uncomfortable. He started doing that thing where he tries to laugh like, in all my 20 years of teaching, no one has ever told me that. And I just sat there and wondered how many girls before me had to sit in their own blood.
This is why you should always trust your gut. In the 1970s, a young couple decided to go for a late-night hike in the woods. A couple minutes into their walk, and the man remembers thinking something's not right. He tells his girlfriend, but they just decide to ignore it and keep going, until he steps on something that felt really soft, like it was alive. Before he has a chance to see what he stepped on, they hear all this rustling in the bushes next to them, and they bolt. Years later, that couple turns on the TV, and a death row inmate who's about to be executed is being interviewed. And they ask him, was there ever a time that you were almost caught red-handed? He responded, yes, one time. I was in the woods, and a couple walked through, and the man actually stepped on the body of a girl I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away. They didn't see me. That couple had run into one of the worst serial killers of all time, Ted Bundy.
One time when I was in 8th grade, I got a hickey on my neck because I had daddy issues, and my teacher noticed and sent me to the principal's office, and the principal was like, I'm calling your mom, and I was like, I burned my neck with a curling iron on accident, and she was like, no you didn't. So on the bus ride home, luckily my best friend and I shared the same bus stop, and I asked her if I could go to her house really quick to burn my neck with her curling iron, and she said yes. So when I walked into the house, my mom was literally ready to beat my ass, and I was like, Mom, look, it's just a curling iron burn. And she was like, wait, yeah, that's clearly just a curling iron burn. And she got so mad, and she called the principal, and she demanded that she apologize to me. And the principal had to apologize to me, and to this day, my mom still doesn't know.
My husband and I were expecting our first daughter, and he suggested the name Tiffany, and I fell in love. When I asked what made him pick it, he said he saw it in a movie. I didn't think much of it, and so a couple weeks later, I called my sister-in-law to let her know we're going to name our daughter Tiffany. She was super surprised because she said she never wanted to name her child after her husband's high school girlfriend. I was really confused, but then she told me that they were together from sophomore year of high school to junior year of college. I knew he had a long-term relationship, but I never knew the girl's name. After hanging up, I confronted my husband, and he tried blowing it off at first, but eventually admitted that it was true. I told him I'm refusing to name my daughter after his ex-girlfriend, and he told me it's too late, I'm overreacting, and I can't change my mind since I'm only due in 5 more weeks. I basically cried to get as much information as I can when he finally told me that. She had contacted him because she was getting married and was having second thoughts. My husband admitted that talking to her made him realize he never stopped having feelings for her, but he loved me too. The reason he suggested the name was because he knew he couldn't leave me to be with her, so he wanted something to honor her with. What do I do?